Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Hogue Doug Ritter RSK MK1-G2. Going off memory there, so if that's wrong, check the title. But yeah, this is, oh, I forgot to add Knifeworks exclusive. Yeah, that's a long name. So this is a really, really long name knife. I don't like the name of this at all. Let's start with that. But besides that, I do like the designer quite a bit because the designer, Doug Ritter, is a mainstay in the knife world, and he is the founder of Knifeworks. Knifeworks is a hugely important organization to knife owners because they really push to change the knife laws across the country, and I'm not sure about their involvement in the rest of the world, but definitely across the country here in the U.S., in order to improve a lot of the things wrong with the law. The laws that, antiquated laws regarding automatic knives, the gravity knife laws in New York, butterfly knife laws, dagger laws, all sorts of different laws that are there governing knives, which a lot of times don't make much sense. So Knifeworks is there on the front lines fighting for those rights, and definitely hats off to Doug Ritter. Now let's go ahead and talk about this knife. So this knife looks stunningly similar to another knife, the Griptilian, the Benchmade Griptilian. Now the blade shape is a little different, but you may recognize it on some former Griptilians because there was, in fact, a Doug Ritter Griptilian that was around previously. And Benchmade and Doug Ritter parted ways. Doug Ritter, I think, describes sort of the parting in the Knifeworks exclusive listing as to sort of a life-changing event. But so I don't know whether it was an amicable parting of ways or not, but in any event, they parted ways. And so Hogue, you know, they were just starting out and they were looking for some designers. They did pick up Elishewitz who's also a Benchmade designer, or a designer Benchmade collaborated with a lot. And so they also picked up Doug Ritter as a designer and picked up the rights to his blade shape and design on this Doug Ritter sort of Griptilian design. So obviously the handle's a little bit different because, you know, the Benchmade Griptilian handle is still Benchmade's design, but you know, that this is sort of a new version of the Doug Ritter Benchmade that used to be out there. And so let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad of this knife. But before we do that, let's get into some size comparisons. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and do that size comparison of the Griptilian. And I'm going to go ahead and change the perspective here. So as you can see, the Griptilian handle is ever so slightly smaller than the Doug Ritter handle here. And the blade is about the same. Really, really about the same as far as length is. As far as height, obviously you can see that this is taller than this one, but this is the standard Griptilian blade shape. Oh, and just regarding the handle real quick on this one, this is the DLT exclusive in carbon fiber, so it does have flat handles versus the normal rounded handles on the Griptilian. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. The Benchmade Super Freak, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and the Para 3. So you can see it's bigger than the Para 3, a little bit smaller in blade length. Actually, it's about the same blade length as the Paramilitary 2. And let's go ahead and do the Shaman. A little bit smaller than the Shaman. And because a lot of people have it, how about the Bugout and Mini Bugout? Hope that gives you guys a good idea on some size here. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad here. So the good right off the bat is the blade shape. Obviously, this Doug Ritter blade is a very hallowed blade in the halls of knife ownership, and it really is a very, very nice blade. You have sort of this high flat here and a nice sort of saber grind going to the edges. This is not a factory edge, by the way. I put this edge on here so it's a little bit of a nicer edge than what normally comes on it, but the factory edge is sharp, so don't worry about that. But the blade shape itself is extremely slicey and great for EDC. It has good edge stability. It cuts through paper, cuts through cardboard great. It cuts through all the normal EDC type of stuff you would deal with. Doesn't have any hang-ups. The stonewash finish on the blade is sort of like a mirror stonewash. It's very nice. Actually, I appreciate the stonewash they put on the blade here. I also have to say the blade steel here, 20 CV, as you can see right here, is it's a great blade steel. And for those of you who don't know, 20 CV, 204P from CTS, and Bowler M390 are pretty much all the same chemical composition. So this is CPM's version of Bowler M390, and it has a really good balance of the main issues that you want, or the main criteria you want to see in a knife blade, which would be edge holding, so it keeps an edge for a nice long while before sharpenings, ease of sharpening, which obviously is the ease that you have to sharpen it, corrosion resistance, and toughness. Toughness is how brittle is it? Does it tend to break rather than bend and give? And so as far as toughness, it's also high in toughness as well, relative to everything else. So it's a really good balance of everything, which is why 20 CV is a very sought after steel here. The handle here is a G10 handle. It's a sunburst pattern, as you can see here. Now this comes with the satin blade and the G10 handle for and this is really one of the best things about it, is the price on this is about $160. Now you can get the mini version for $140. You can get the black bladed version for about $175, and there's a couple different handle options. There's an orange handle, which I think currently is sold out. There's a purple and black handle. There is a but the purple and black I think is on the mini only. There's a tan handle, and there's the normal black handle. So I think those are the handle options for now, but they're all pretty much G10. And so G10 and 20 CV for the price here is going to be an excellent deal. If you think about the Griptilian in particular, the Griptilian is being offered in S30V, which is not quite as good as 20 CV, but still plenty fine. And that's also being offered with Grivery handles, which are basically plastic, not as good as G10. And that is, I think they're currently running about 110 or so. Someone can correct me in the comments, but I believe that's what they're running at right now. And so, what you're getting for the price here is excellent, because it's a huge step up of materials, both in blade, in the blade material and in the handle material from what Benchmade is offering. So that's great. It does have the Able lock, I think is what Hogue calls it, but it's basically the axis lock that Benchmade has now that the patent has expired on that. And so it's really competitive in that regard as well. The Able lock on here works beautifully. The springs on here might even be a little bit better than Benchmade springs that they have, the Omega springs. And it has very nice feedback and action on it. The fit and finish on here is great. You have very good centering. You have all the parts fit exactly as they're supposed to. Everything you'd want to see on a nice fit and finish on a knife, which is great. The thumb studs are in a nice place. The jimping is good. The ergonomics, it is based off the Griptilian essentially. The ergonomics are excellent. I'd put the ergonomics at a 9 on this. Really good ergonomics. Not really any hot spots. I can feel the clip a little bit, but it's definitely not a hot spot even when I bear down. So that's really not an issue. So, there's just a lot to love about this knife in general. The action, by the way, of course, is the nice drop shot action you'd expect from any Able lock or axis lock knife. So, you're just getting an all-around excellent knife. This feels a lot more solid than the Griptilian, I just love it. One thing to mention on the Griptilian, by the way, is that there is an option for around, I believe it's 160, or sorry, I think it's 180, but it goes on sale every once in a while for about 160, which is the blue G10 liners with gray G10 sort of exterior handle. Those are 20 CV blades, so that would be the competition for this. This is comes in a little bit cheaper than that, which is great. And a lot of people do prefer that Doug Ritter blade shape to the general blade shape on here, but the Griptilian obviously also has the sheep's foot blade shape with the Spidey hole in it as well. So it gives you a couple little blade options. Also the Tonto version. So there's a couple different blade options on the Griptilian. As far as, although the Tonto is not going to be available in that G10 and 20 CV version. In addition, the DLT exclusive version, which is this, is available. This used to be around $240. It was $232 for the satin version, I think, and $242, I believe, or $247 for the black bladed version. These recently dropped down to $200 for the satin version. Now, at $200, this starts to become a little bit better of a deal than this. And the reason for that is because this is M390, so it's not 20 CV, it's M390, but basically the same thing. But this is carbon fiber handles, and carbon fiber is going to be, a little bit more premium than G10. A lot of people, there's nothing wrong with G10, and frankly, it's going to work every bit as well as carbon fiber. But if people who like carbon fiber and value, the sort of extra that carbon fiber brings, are going to probably tell you that an extra $40 for carbon fiber scales over G10 scales is totally worth it. And I think a lot of, if you look at Flightanium, for example, and their carbon fiber scales, look at the pricing on those, and people upgrade to those on many knives from G10. So just to give you an idea of the value proposition. So this is a good transition into the bad on this knife. And some of the bad is that when this came out in, I think, 2018, it was, or maybe it was 2000, or late 2018, early 2019, when this came out, this sort of blew the value proposition out of the water. Since then, with the price drop on this, and with the significant price drops on S35VN on several models, in the budget range, Civivi, for example, has the Elementum in S35VN, and they're coming out with more knives in S35VN. You have Kershaw coming out with 20 CV on the Bareknuckle, and that's about $100 for that. So as those prices continue to fall, this becomes less and less of the value proposition beast that it was in sort of late 2018, early 2019. Metal Complex, by the way, is an excellent reviewer here on YouTube, and you should definitely go check out his videos. But he talked about this knife as being the sort of point of diminishing returns, that after you get to about this knife, the materials versus the price and everything else, and you continue spending, you're going to get diminishing returns. And I would say he was probably exactly right when he published that video, that probably was the case, is that after this, you're probably getting some diminishing returns. But since then, since that video was released, that value proposition has really changed. I think I've spoken enough on that at this point, but I did want to make that very clear. Now let's go ahead and talk about the bad on this knife. So the clip on this, I don't love. I know a lot of people are okay with the Hogue clips. So the tension on this is not great, and this clip actually does bend. So this got snagged on something, it got bent, and it really bent very easily, and that was a little bit interesting, so I didn't love that. And another thing is, in order to sharpen this, based on where the thumb stud is, you have to remove it. I went ahead and removed it, did sharpen this, and when I put it back together, the screw split. So I don't know if that was an issue with the hardware, but the screw split, and that was unfortunate. Hogue does have an excellent warranty, though, and they did send me a new screw. They did sort of screw up, haha, pun, and sent me the a black screw to replace the screw in the thumb stud here, and then I had to call them, and they sent me the satin version. But otherwise, their shipping to get it to me, by the way, was better than Benchmade's shipping time to get me stuff, so no complaints about Hogue's warranty department. Very happy with them. One other thing to note is that the screw is, so this is, there's no screw on this side, and there is a screw on this side. This is how it came. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I think this should be flipped, with this being on the show side and this being on the clip side. Is that a big deal? No, it's not a big deal, but you know, I'm nitpicking here for some issues. Another issue with the knife is that I don't like sort of the raised platform here. It's sort of necessary because of the fact that because of how the clip is done over here, but in general, I'm not a big fan of that raised area, so that's a thing as well. One thing to note, I was going to just mention this. I believe this is T8 hardware, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Yes, this is T8 hardware. So I forgot to put that in the good section, and that should have been mentioned in the good section, is that they use T8 hardware on here, which is an excellent sort of upgrade over many companies using T6, including Benchmade on the Griptilian using T6. So that is another nice upgrade. But overall, this is an excellent, excellent knife. Very, very happy with it. So how does it compare with the Griptilian? And I'm going to compare it to this specific Griptilian, again, which is the DLT exclusive. And I've had a couple other Griptilians over the years. I will say this. I prefer the feel of the Griptilian. It fits my hand a little bit better. I have size large gloved hands. That's not to say that this is any worse. I feel like the jimping on here is a little bit, it doesn't catch my thumb, so it feels like I'm sliding a little bit. And I don't love that. It's not aggressive enough, the jimping. And I don't necessarily love the sunburst pattern here as well, but that's obviously a personal preference thing. And it's kind of funny. I actually, you know, even though I prefer the contoured handles of the G10 and 20 CV version, the gray G10 version, to this version, the combination of the carbon fiber scales and the flat scales are actually still nicer than what I think than this this set of scales here. So this is, you know, nice. Nothing's wrong with it, but it's very plain, both visually and in the hand. This just feels like it fits like a glove, and it's also visually appealing at the same time. So I really appreciate that. Both have excellent action. You know, they're done very well. The action itself is better on the Griptilian, although the springs are better on the Hogue as far as the feel of the springs. So those are some considerations as well. Like I said, overall, either one is fine. I think the shorter blade here gives more control, which is another reason I prefer the Griptilian a little bit more. I'm talking about this dimension here as being shorter. So it just feels like I have a lot more control over this knife than I do of this knife, even though I have plenty of control on both. So I will say I do prefer the Griptilian to the Hogue Ritter. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's probably not a very popular opinion in the knife community. I think a lot of people have dove hard into this being just an amazing knife, and it is, don't get me wrong, but I still think the Griptilian, both the 20 CV version and the M390 DLT exclusive version, are better than the Hogue Ritter, at least in my opinion, and for my uses. So that's how I feel about that. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but it is what it is. That being said, if you're looking for just what the best value, this is the better value because you're getting better materials for the cheapest price possible, you know, to get sort of that apex of value. So, you know, if you're true value, go with this one. If you don't mind spending, you know, if it's going to be about $40 more for this one in satin, I would say buy a brand new one of these for $40. Again, you're getting that nice carbon fiber there, and it is nice carbon fiber, and you're also getting just something that feels better in the hand. But I would not argue with anyone if they went and got maybe a Civivi Praxis or CJRB Centros and one of these for the same price, because you could buy both for what this costs. Hope this has been helpful, guys. This is sort of a new format a little bit on the channel with some of the knives and comparisons. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Let me know what you think about this format if you want me to keep it going, and also drop a like button as well. And see you guys next time. Thanks.